Thank you, Eric, for those kind remarks, and I appreciate everyone for the opportunity to be here. Eric asked me a couple months ago down to talk to a few of his members. He undersold this event. It was a very impressive crowd, and again, thanks for having me. As Eric said, I'm here representing the American fuel and petrochemical manufacturers and my 400 member companies. For those of you who don't know about AFPM, we're one of the nation's largest and oldest trade associations. We've been around since 1902. We represent the men and the women of the petroleum, refining, and petrochemical industries, which is commonly referred to, as you probably know, as the downstream sector. Our membership is broad. We represent 97% of the industry. That includes 119 petroleum refineries and 120 petrochemical facilities. Our facilities employ hundreds of thousands of jobs directly and millions more, up to 2 million more indirectly. And not just any old jobs, but good jobs, well-paying jobs, jobs with great benefits. So I want to thank you on behalf of my members. They knew I was coming today, and they told me to pass along something. That is that they count on you every day. They count on you to provide qualified, highly skilled, safety-conscious professionals. They count on you to get the jobs done and to get the jobs done well and, most importantly, safely. And so for that, I extend my members' thank you. As Eric said, I began my tenure at AFPM just last May. I'm really just starting to get my legs. But one thing was clear right out of the gate, and that was it was important to my members that I carry on what my predecessor started with, developing a relationship with you. And so that's why I'm here. That's why I came down yesterday to meet folks and let you hear firsthand that this relationship is important. And that's also why within the first few weeks of taking the job last May, I reached out to Eric, as he knows, your president. He literally was one of the first people I met with in my official capacity. And we spoke about the ways to work together for it to be a two-way street, not just helping my members, but helping you and finding ways that we could continue to work together. And so I look forward to that. Eric and I were both new. We started around the same time, and we both have mighty big shoes to fill. For Eric, it's former General President Walt Wise. I want to recognize Mr. Wise for all his many contributions to the industry, to the nation, and to you. I also wanted to take a time to recognize a few other folks. Iron Workers General Secretary Ron Pixa. Did I get that right? General Treasurer Bernie Evers. Bernie and I got to break some bread last night. We had swapped some good Boston stories. Bill Brown, Mr. Brown, welcome, or thanks for having me. And of course, Kevin Hilton. Kevin, thank you. So like I say, from witnessing this firsthand, it's very impressive, like I said, to see what you guys are doing here, to see how this event, or hear how this event has grown. To have at the same table iron workers, contractors, labor and management, all trying to solve problems, to create jobs, not to make mischief, but really to find solutions. That's what I appreciate. I've been impressed to learn about impact, where labor and their contractors have come together for the mutual benefit of the iron worker, craft workers, contractors, developers, and owners like my 400 member companies. Among all the work you do, apprentices programs, journeyman retraining, educational programs, one thing stands out, and that's your commitment to safety. That has to be our shared goal. I can tell you that my members' #1 priority is safety. All else pales in comparison. So to see and to hear and to report back how important safety is warms my heart, and no doubt makes my members very happy. As I've said, I'm less than a year into the job. I was promised a bit of a slow lull period, but that never materialized. From the very beginning, it's been quite crazy. It's been an onslaught of new regulations and rules, mostly environmental. So I don't know how much you track this, but the stuff that's impacting our business are the rules mostly coming out of the Environmental Protection Agency. This year alone, they've established new ozone rules, so national ambient air quality standards, that it's going to make it harder for manufacturers from coast to coast. There's been this war against fossil fuels that you're probably been hearing a lot about, trying to find the place that we're going to have in society now and for years to come. There's been this thing called the Clean Power Plan, right? Trying to force coal-fired power plants. And I saw a number of those on the screen from Homer City, who I used to represent, to NRG, lots of facilities. It's important that we really have an all of the above strategy and we keep these facilities running and the jobs there. I will say, thank goodness that it hasn't been all bad, being that we're downstream. The lower oil and gas prices have actually helped out a lot of my members through lower supply costs. So we're seeing expansions, particularly in the petrochemical space. We've seen, as you know, over the last few years, new plants. We have expansions on the way, hopefully, that they'll continue forward with those expansions. And so we actually have lots to be optimistic about. So I like to tell this little story about when I took this job, because I think it makes a couple points. One, to bore you for a minute, I have 3 kids, 13, 12, and 10. And so anyone out there has kids knows how dangerous your youngest child is, right? They're usually a little bit too smart for their own good. And so my youngest daughter, her name is Edie. She's very disappointed that I'm here in Disney without her, by the way. But when I told her I was leaving my old job to come work for the petrochemical industry, she was a bit confused. And she had no idea, still has no idea what a petrochemical is. And so I remember taking her to school and she was like, what is a petrochemical? I tried to explain it. It was, she gave me that look, you get where you're not really making it through. And she stopped me and she says, look, Dad, all I really want to know, are you going to work for the good guys? I said, wow, that's a pretty astute question. And I thought about it for a minute and I said, well, let's think about this. I said, our members are the ones that generate the energy that keeps our houses warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Our members are making the fuel that drive the cars that bring you to work in the morning, to church on the weekends, to school during the week. She didn't like that. We're the ones that make the fuel that makes, aircrafts and jets work. So we're the ones that we were the ones who made the fuel that made it possible for you to get here today. We're the ones that make the smartphones in your pockets, the computers in your briefcase, the clothes on your back, and the medicines that we all rely on to make our lives better. So I looked at her, pretty confidently and said, we are the good guys, and I'm going to go work for the good guys. And I'm here to tell you, whether you like it or not, you're part of this too. You're part of this story because you're what makes, our jobs and our members' jobs possible. So thank you again for that. So, a lot of political rhetoric going on the last few months, right? Pretty hard to watch. But one thing that people don't really remember is that 8 years ago, we were in the grips of what now people refer to as the Great Recession, right? Some people forget, I suspect you in this room haven't forgotten, but it was the shale revolution that helped bring us back from the brink. It's really not hyperbole to say that the shale revolution made America energy independent and created tens of thousands of jobs. And again, not just any old jobs, high-paying jobs, good jobs. The United States now is a net exporter of energy. We're one of the most affordable countries for petrochemical production. 60% of all the investment in my members in the last few years has come from abroad. That was unthinkable a few years ago. So for the first time in decades, we've reversed the trends where jobs are not being offshored but are coming home. Again, they're staying with us, they're staying in the countries. So 2 years ago, AFPM, along with the iron workers and some of our country's leading universities, we came together in a far-ranging series of studies and discussions that talk about how to take advantage of the shale revolution. Mr. Wise and Bernie Evers were critical to this effort of us, your industries and mine, coming together to figure out how we were both going to take advantage, again, of the new shale revolution. So we put together a project. We named it the American Shale Manufacturing Partnership. And our goal was to identify the steps that we needed to take together to make sure that we benefited from our country's natural resources. And by all account, it was a great project, one we hope we can model again. We were talking last night of what could be the next project. But let me tell you a little bit about what the report concluded. And much of these conclusions hold true just as much today as they did a couple years ago. First, we need a highly skilled, trained workforce ready to take these high-paying good jobs in the shale-related manufacturing industries. We need you guys to fill these jobs. That's why the iron workers' educational programs are so important. Second, we need an improved, modernized infrastructure in this country. It's falling apart. A lot of my members say they could do more if there was more infrastructure. So this too relies on you and the contractors in this room to help get that done. The infrastructure of the U.S. manufacturing are formidable. They require the best skills and our best workers, and by all accounts, you guys are indeed that. So there's lots of opportunities that lie, ahead for us, and we're optimistic, and we want to work with you to make sure we take advantage of them. And yes, we face lots of challenges. We always do. The interesting thing that I'm finding in our industry is that most of our challenges don't come from within. My members welcome competition, frankly. What makes it so hard are all the obstacles that our own government establishes for U.S. manufacturing in this country. So one of the things we'll be working with you is help making sure that we share our voice back to those in Washington, that we try to bring common sense to a town that seems to be lacking in common sense right now. So I do a lot of talking about overregulation, so I decided to actually look into it a little bit more. And do you know over the last decade, the EPA, the old agency I worked at, has pumped out 7,615 new regulations. You heard that right, over 7,500 new regulations. The burden that this puts on U.S. manufacturing makes it very, very difficult for our members to compete in a global market where these same restrictions, don't apply. And I'm not talking about, shirking our environmental responsibilities. That's not what our complaint is. We're happy to do our part to improve the environment, and in fact, we have done our part. What I'm talking about is creation of layer after layer after layer of regulation that makes it hard for us to do our job. So of these regulations, we further dug down a little bit deeper, and 17 of these regulations, 17 of them, have annual compliance costs of over $1 billion. Not collectively, each one of these has an annual compliance cost of over $1 billion. Again, strong headwinds. You heard a lot about the Clean Power Plan. This is the one that the Supreme Court recently stayed, pending the judicial review to see if it, in fact, is lawful. But that regulation, along with the new ozone standards, will layer on U.S. manufacturing another $100 billion of annual compliance costs. Again, this is not over the life of these regulations. This is year after year, $100 billion. And so then you ask, how can U.S. petroleum industry, petrochemical industry, how can they compete against their foreign competition with these types of costs? We also have something that's near and dear to us called the Renewable Fuels standard. No speech is complete unless I mention this. This is the corn ethanol mandate that we live with. As you know, gasoline now has to have at least 10% of ethanol in our product. This is another example of Washington run amok. This is Washington politicians telling Americans how to spend their money they don't have, to buy products they don't want, and products that damage, your engines to boot. We'll be asking Congress, and in fact, we have been asking Congress to repeal this broken program, and hopefully we'll get your support on that. So, as I told my little daughter Edie, as I started with before, the oil and natural gas and the products we make the world a better place. They've helped us live longer, better lives. And so, as everyone in this room knows or should know, we've created untold millions of jobs for American families. So yes, we are the good guys. But as I said, so too are you, because you are training the workers that are critical to the refining and petrochemical industries. And your tremendous safety training programs are saving lives. You're making things better. I saw a stat the other day that showed of all the top U.S. manufacturing sectors, the safest one is the petrochemical industry. safer than even the office space. So I'm at more of a risk to go to my office than I am in a petrochemical refining plant. That's an accomplishment in and of itself. So thanks to your apprentice and journeyman retraining programs, you're creating the most capable workers on the planet. I've heard you spend $80 to $90 million a year on training. That's very impressive, and as I said, the results speak for themselves. So again, I want to thank you for inviting me. It's been a real opportunity for me to learn and to meet folks. I look forward in the years and months ahead, or hopefully the months and years ahead, to working with you to develop a relationship that, again, that works both ways. I'm not just looking for ways you can help me, but I'm looking for ways that we can help you, and I'm positive that we're heading in the right direction. So again, thanks for inviting me, and I hope the rest of the event goes well.